Welcome to today's edition of
Just a Bit Outside.
Today we're going to talk about the Black Napoleon. Now, King Shaka was the king of the Zulu Tribe in South Africa. He grew up pretty much fatherless after the age of 6. Now, his childhood growing up was awful. His parents had come from the same clan, which was considered a no-no in Zulu culture, so he, growing up, was really treated horribly. And so he did not like this, but as time went, when he was the age of 23, he had the chance to become a warrior. Now, he had become a warrior for the Thietwa Empire. He turned out for the next 6 years to be a great warrior for them. He was a tremendous fighter. He ended up becoming the chief of the Zulu. They had 1,500 people out of 800 clans in South Africa in this area. He was from the smallest one. Now, his brother was actually in line for the throne. He had his brother assassinated. So he ended up being the next one in line to become king. Also, his overlord, when he was murdered, that put him totally in the clear to become king of his tribe. So he did. Now, the first thing he did was reform the army, and he began working on warrior techniques. He ruled with an iron fist, by the way. You could oppose him if you wanted to, but you better not tell him. You better not let it be known, because it was instant death for anybody who disagreed with him. So he reorganized the army. They had what was called oxhide shields and spindly throwing spears. He changed that. He changed them to long-bladed knives, and they were called stabbing assegis. Now, the way he did it with these was they fought at close range. Now, a lot of the other tribes, they used spears, but not him. He wanted to do fighting at close range because it gave them an advantage. He also relied tremendously on on speed. So they had to fight at close range, and they organized the army into age groups, and they quartered them in different villages. They had markings on their shields, headdress, ornaments, things like that to help distinguish from each other. And real quick, I'm going to read to you how he would do his combat. I'm going to quote directly from Brittanica what they said. He developed standard tactics which the Zulu used in every battle. The available regiments, known collectively as the Empire, were divided into 4 groups. The strongest termed the chest, closed with the enemy to pin him down, while 2 horns raced out to encircle and attack the foe from behind. A reserve, known as the loins, was seated nearby with its back to the battle so not to become unduly excited, and they could be sent to reinforce any part of the ring if the enemy threatened to break out. And the battle was supervised by other people, and they would use hand signals to direct them. Okay, so when he did this, he wanted to exterminate anybody and everybody that he felt a threat to him. And so whenever he conquered any clan, he would put the remnants inside his troop, into the Zulu, to fight these people. So every time he did a conquered, whatever remnants were left over, you were now part of the Zulu army, and he would use these over and over and over to conquer. Now, the first one he went after, besides out of the small clans nearby, was called the Lengani. And he killed the men with this because these were people that had made his life miserable when he was growing up. So he would impale them on their own village fences. He was not kind to these people. And then from there, he just kept working his way around the other tribes. So he was not afraid to conquer anybody and everybody, and he started becoming feared. The Zulu army had quadrupled in the first year he had taken over. In 1817, his overlord had become murdered, and that's when he began becoming that much more powerful as a king. Now, within another 2 years, he beat the Nwadwi and the Kwabi tribes, and they were the only ones that were really a threat. So he turned southward and started going after clan after clan after clan, and he left all these smoking kraals, which were also known as villages, wherever they went. And he focused mostly on the coastal area clans. And these people were terrified. They were fleeing the Zulu wherever they went. And they had to go try to find land. In the end, 2 million people died as a result of fleeing the Zulu. They were terrified of them. Now, whites began arriving in Port Natal, which is present-day Durban, in 1824. And they contacted Shaka. They wanted to do trade, things like that. And Shaka didn't see them as a threat, so he let them stay. He was actually fascinated with the trinkets they would present him. He was fascinated with a lot of the things in the trade, but he never really felt that they were a threat. Two of the people that stayed with them was Henry Francis Flynn and Nathaniel Isaacs. Now, they actually were smart. They learned how to speak Zulu language, so a lot of extensive records were recorded about the Zulu tribe because of their time with him. Now, he also didn't feel afraid of them because of the weapons they had. They did talk to him about, his people talked about him about being able to use European type weapons, but he's like, no, they take way too long to reload, and he wanted to rely on speed. Now, one of the things that I do want to show as an example of his cruelty was when his mother Nandi died. And I'm going to read this also from Brittanica. In 1827, Nandi died, and with his mother's death, Shaka became openly psychotic. About 7,000 Zulus were killed in the initial paroxysm of his grief, and for a year, no crops were planted nor could milk, the basis of the Zulu diet staple, be used. All women found pregnant were slain with their husbands, as were thousands of milch cows, so that even the calves might know what it was like to lose a mother. Incidentally, any women that got pregnant by him, he killed them. He did not have any wives. He had two half-brothers. What was happening was he was conquering a lot. He had already conquered a huge amount of land and a huge part of the tribes around there. They were terrified of him, but his two half-brothers started noticing that he seemed more psychotic over and over. And what was happening is he started marching the tribes northward, doing conquering, and then they would come back and they'd be exhausted, and he would tell them, no, I want you to go southward and conquer these people. And these people were getting exhausted. His brothers, his two half-brothers, and one of the lesser chiefs felt that he's now becoming a threat to the tribe because people are going to want revenge at some point. So they conspired to assassinate their brother, their half-brother, and so what happened was they waited weeks and weeks and weeks, I think it was about 6 weeks is what I read, to finally get the chance to assassinate him. And when they did, it was very much a Julius Caesar thing where he's shocked when they attack him and he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you killing me? And to Brutus. So in the end, because of his warrior techniques, the Zulus were a feared tribe in that region. They did not actually fight the British until at least 10 years after his death. And when the British did start coming through there, it took a long time for them to be able to beat the Zulus because King Shaka had taught them to fight so well that, I mean, they could cover ground in a very short period of time, and they were fierce warriors. Plus the time it took to reload your weapon, you had to worry about somebody coming up on you. And he had also taught them with the shields to be able to take it in such a way to get, take your left shield on your left arm, knock it over toward the right so you could get a stabbing into the ribs. So he was very effective in being able to kill people. So even the British were afraid of the Zulu. It took them a long time to be able to overcome them. So I hope you enjoyed this story of Shaka from South Africa. My name's Jeff Dial. Have a great day. Please like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and also ring the bell if you want notifications for future videos. In the meantime, also check out my other channel, Footprints in American History. Hope you guys have a great day.
Just a bit outside.